It's Banter with my son, Rich Carucci. Rich!
Welcome to Banter with Rich Carucci. My guest today, legendary comedy club owner, Al Martin. How you doing, Al?
I'm doing good. I'm bantering.
You're bantering, yes.
I'm bantering here on the 27th floor of my building.
Thank you for taking the time out
No problem.
to meet with us. Wow, you own two of the top comedy clubs in New York City. I mean,
Thank you.
Must be a busy guy.
Yeah, I am. I'm doing this interview.
Why comedy? Why comedy?
Well, you know, it's funny. I always liked comedy, but I never thought I'd own a comedy business. And I was dating a girl who was a comic, and she said, "Come watch me one night at a show." And I said, "Really, do I have to do that?" And she goes, "Yeah." So I'm watching her, and she really was awful. I mean, awful. I mean, like the worst comedian I ever saw in my life. But she said to me, the typical female question. No offense to our esteemed camera crew here today. She said to me, "How was I?" Now, you never answer this question, honestly. You can't answer this. It's like when they're wearing an outfit, how do I look? The answer is great.
Yep.
You could be 3 rooms away and not see it. The answer has to be great. You're great. So I kept saying to her, "You were wonderful. You were really funny." "No, really, how do you think I did?" "You were funny." So after the 30th time, I said to her, "You know what? You suck." And we wound up getting into a big argument over it. We fought. We went back and forth. And she said, "You know what, smart ass? You go do it." So a week later, I was at Pip's Comedy Club.
Pips, yeah.
Waited 3 hours to go up, open mic Wednesday. Just as it's my turn, 12:45 in the morning, Andrew Dice Clay walks in, 1989, and he's getting ready to do his HBO special, his breakout special. And they said to me, "We have to bump you, Dice is going up." And then, when Dice was done, the whole audience went running to the bar to talk to Dice. And 3 people were left in the audience listening to me. 2 of them were sleeping. And 1 heckled.
That's great, the glamorous life of comedy.
Oh, it was horrible. But you know what? I met some nice comics waiting to go up. And they told me about other open mics. I started going and having an addictive personality. Now I was addicted to trying to become a comedian.
Yes, all right, because I've worked with you, right? You're a very funny comedian.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we worked together.
Yeah.
I remember that VFW. You crushed.
Oh, thank you. You know, what do you find the hardest part of running a club is?
The comedians.
That's what I was going to ask you.
No, you know, between dealing with comedians and dealing with Yelp review customers and governmental agencies, it's like one big grind. There's always people think you don't do anything all day, but what you're basically doing is putting out fires. You know, one comedian doesn't get along with another, one producer don't get along with another, one manager doesn't get along with another. You know, I should just be a referee, you know.
Well, it's 2 of the top clubs, and you used to have 3 of the top clubs.
That's right. I used to also own New York Comedy Club.
That's where I started.
And I also used to own New York Comedy Club in Florida.
Right, in Boca, is it?
In Boca, yeah. So, I was quite busy, but you know what it is? At the end of the day, I ran out of kids. You know.
Yeah, that's great.
My oldest daughter left. She originally, a few people might remember her, but she ran New York for a while and Broadway for a while.
Wow.
And then she went off to do something else. And then that left me Mel and Dina, and 2 kids, 3 clubs.
I love them both.
And I didn't want to be back in the clubs every day. So I said, which one is the one I should sell? And I wanted to be in the Village because I always loved that area.
Yeah, that's a great
Even when I was younger, I used to love to hang in the Village. You know, it's like electric.
So nostalgic there too.
Right, it's nostalgic and everything. And then Broadway, I love. I mean, that's my baby.
You can't beat Broadway. You can't. But
it was sad letting New York go because I was there for 25 years.
That's great. I love that place. Yeah, it had to be. It's like, yeah, it had to be. But how have you seen comedy change over the years since you opened the club?
Well, political correctness, number one. I mean, that's a cancer on comedy. You know, you get people come at email me. I like the first comic, but I hated the last 3, or I liked the first 3, but I didn't like the last one. And I said, you know what? You didn't like the last one, but a lot of people in the audience liked the last one. So comedy is very, they'll write a Yelp review. I hated the 3rd comic. He was anti-Asian or something, like, all right. I mean, they're jokes.
Yeah.
It turns out the guy's living with an Asian woman. Maybe that's why he hates Asians. I don't know. You know,
Yeah, good point.
But the thing is, it's like, you know, anything a comedian's going to say is usually joking. I was watching a lady in the audience. She was laughing. This comic was joking around and picked on Jewish people for a while, picked on Italians for a while, and then said something about autistic people. All of a sudden, her face stopped. She went like this. Afterwards, she comes over to me and she said, "You know what? I really resented that remark you made about autistic people." I said, "You know what? I happened to be watching you for some reason because you were laughing so heartily. You were laughing at jokes against Jews, Italians, the New York City government, homeless people, but autism, you drew the line because it affects you personally.
Okay.
People got to lighten up. If you're going to go to a comedy club, you're going to expect something unusual, and it's very dangerous what's happening out there.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to be a comic today. That's why I don't do gigs.
Right. What are some of the moments that you remember in your clubs since you've been running your clubs? Like, what are some big moments?
Well, it's always exciting when a celebrity comes in. So we've had a number of them through the years. You know, it's funny. I was looking at an old lineup from the New York Comedy Club back in the early '90s. It was Damon Wayans came in to do a guest spot. Tracy Morgan was a booked spot. Wanda Sykes was a booked spot. And then we had this young comedian. He just was a short little guy. Everybody used to make fun of him every week. Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Look at him now.
Kevin Hart. So many people through the years.
Well, you run a lot of shows. Broadway has 2 rooms. Greenwich is busy. I mean,
yeah, you know, it's funny. They all, 90% of comics, if you made it in New York, you started in one of my clubs.
Absolutely.
And then when they get interviewed, somehow they all started at Caroline's. They started really at New York or Broadway or Greenwich, but when you ask them, they started at Caroline's.
Right. Who would you like to see? Anybody that you want to see come in that hasn't come in yet?
Not really. I mean, you know, people remember I'm like 10 years ahead of the curve, so the person I probably really want to see as a star, I've probably seen them as an open micer. So
you're right.
mean, you know,
yeah.
So I'm really, I really don't have a favorite young comedian today. I mean, I think Mark Norman's funny, but you know, I like the older comics. I like Kevin James. I like Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, man.
You know, those guys.
Absolutely. You gotta love him.
I know, you know, people are gonna call me an old fart, but you know, I gotta go with what I think is funny. You know.
What advice can you give a comic that's starting out now? Quit.
It's a life of poverty.
Oh, is it ever?
You know, it's a life of poverty. It's a life of grind. It's a long shot. You know, look, I was a comic, and at some point, you know, I had a young kid. Now that kid is managing one of the clubs, but at the time, she was about 8 years old, and I had to make decisions like, do I work on the road and live in poverty and not provide much for this kid? Or maybe I'm going to be that 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100 that really makes it, you know. I mean, there are 10 great comics that I could remember starting 25 years ago that are stars today. And other than that, I mean, how many Seinfelds and Romanos and, you know, Gaffigans do you get?
Yeah, it's a struggle.
How many thousands other comics that didn't make it, you know? So that's when I decided to get into the club business.
Smart, yeah.
A, to get stage time because I sucked. Nobody was putting me up.
The biggest bringer ever. You own your own club.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's another thing. You know, I'm always accused of starting the Bringer show. You know, and I probably did. But you know, a lot of people handle that Bringer show the wrong way. You know, they you know who complains about Bringer shows? The people that can't bring.
You know? I could see that.
You know, so here's the thing. Is it exploitive? I don't know. Maybe it is, but when you think about it, the way it started is I was hanging around at the bar at the New York Comedy Club in about 92, 91, and someone said to me, Al, we're not good enough for your 9 o'clock show. We know that. We can't compete with, you know, back then the people going up were, you know, like Bill Hicks, and those were the guys I was booking at the time. David Tell, Bill Hicks, and we're not good enough for that. We know that. But if we brought some friends to a 7 o'clock show, would you put us up? And I said, by all means. I don't have anything going on at that time spot. Now, what a lot of people mistakenly do is they say, bringers are exploitive, and you know, why should we do them, blah, blah, blah. My question is, if you stopped every bringer show in New York right now, we gave you your wish. You stopped every bringer show. You think that club is still putting you on their 9 o'clock show? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. They're probably not putting you on anyway. And what you're doing is, if the dirty secret is, if every comedy club stopped doing bringer shows, they'd be out of business. So you'd never get good enough to be on their 9 o'clock show.
That's a good point.
You think there'd be 14 comedy clubs right now in New York without bringer shows?
No.
Look at all the lineups. Half of them are half bringers, half pros.
Yeah.
They do these produced shows so they don't have to pay the comics. You know, I mean, that's exploitive. I mean, but you know, that's how you learn to become good, getting on any kind of. So if you can't do a bringer, that's okay. There's other ways to get up on stage, and
Absolutely.
you hustle. But don't take that opportunity away from the people that can bring.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people that did bring, and nobody ever stops bringing. That's another thing, you know? Like, you bring at every level of your career. If you're Jim Gaffigan, you think if you can't bring 5,000 people to the Borgata Hotel on a Saturday night, they're going to book you at the Borgata Hotel? You're bringing.
Good point.
You're always bringing in this business.
Absolutely. It's putting asses in seats. Right?
That's right. If you can't put 5,000 asses in seats, Jim Gaffigan ain't getting booked at Borgata, which is interesting, because he was the worst bringer in the world when he first started.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I used to do my club, like the open mics and stuff, and he would never bring, and I'd try to book him on a bringer show, and I'm not doing that. I can't do it. I don't have any friends. You get to know him, you know why. But
Oh, really?
No holds barred on this.
No.
On the Rich Carucci show, no holds barred. We're going to say anything. Ask me any question you want. I'm answering.
Well, also, some of the shows, you sit in and you'll watch the talent, right? To pick.
If I'm forced at gunpoint, yes.
Yeah, you've probably seen enough.
After 30 years in comedy, I've really seen a lot. But yeah, there are favorites that I have in New York and in Manhattan that I can enjoy watching a million times. I used to love to watch, may rest in peace, Otto and George.
Oh, who did?
I love George.
Yeah.
I hated Otto.
Yeah.
Inside joke.
I missed him so much.
No, it was. He used to kill me. You know, it's funny. There are some comedians out there that they are called what we call comics.
Yep.
You know, guys like Otto, and those are the guys that tend to make people in the business laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But the audience just stares at them like, huh?
Nothing better than when they didn't when it was a show that people would get a little offended by Otto and he would just let loose.
Yeah. Oh,
there's no pulling back. It was what it was. That was great.
Just let loose, correct.
That was great. But what can you predict for the future of comedy? Can you make any predictions out there, where it's going to go or how it's going to?
Well, I certainly hope it gets away from this political correctness nonsense. You know, I mean, you hear when a guy like Seinfeld says, "I'm not working colleges anymore because of all the nonsense I got to put up with." I just think that this, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, I have a nephew of mine. He's like 21. He works at my club, and I told him something the other day, and because I didn't tell it in a certain way, he got very offended. He was going to write his letter of resignation.
Whoa.
So, if you can't talk to people in just the normal day-to-day stuff, when you're doing comedy, this is a whole generation of people that get offended like at anything.
So everybody wants to be offended by something.
Well, yeah, like why don't you, like if you have 12 flavors of coffee and you don't have the one they like, just go on Yelp and see some of these reviews.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Now, I also want to bring this up.
Yeah.
I saw you in a play. You and your wife. You were great.
Well, I reached a point in life, like, I'm doing like bucket list stuff.
Cool.
Because in a few years I'm going to be in a home dribbling and stuff. Might as well do it before that time happens. But yeah, I got offered a role in a play, and you know, they do it here and they're doing it in Florida, and we spend a lot of time in Florida in the winter.
Awesome.
So it was a perfect role. I didn't have to learn too many lines.
You were great.
Thanks. I didn't have to learn too many lines, and all my scenes were in the first half of the show. So when we're done, if we didn't have any people in the audience that we wanted to see afterwards, we were in our car on the way home to the diner. But it was a lot of fun. I got to do something. I've done a little acting, but not a lot, and you know.
Awesome. Well, I want to leave it on this, but Mets fan, right? Mets fan?
No, actually, a Yankee fan.
Yankee fan.
Yankee
Okay.
fan.
Good. Me too.
You know, I'm a big-time Yankee fan
Good,
all my
good.
life. My brother-in-law's a Met fan, and occasionally he drags me out to a Met game.
Well, now's the time they're doing well.
And if you ask me what I like about the Mets, is they got good food at the stadium.
Good food at the stadium. Well, Al, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich. This is all? This is such a short interview.
Yes,
But I guess, oh wow, look at that military one.
Yeah. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man.
Now you can go watch Dr. Phil or whatever it is you're going to do.
I might go for a parachute jump. An afternoon activity.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Al. God
All
bless
right,
you,
buddy.
and thank you for your time.
No problem, buddy. Take care.
This is Banter too.
Chest up. Oh, are we, this is a photo or a video?
This is a video.
Oh, okay.
Because you have to stay current in the city, you're going to stay sharp, you're going to find out what's going on, but you got to grow on the road. So I try to do both.
And here's a key tip. You always have to stay out of controversial things about other people in the business and commenting. You know, it's you never know when it comes back to bite you. You know,
Absolutely.
People say things, and with this day and age of social media, like it's amazing how many young comedians will say something really stupid. There was a comic yesterday. I'm not kidding you. He put on there, I think anybody over 40 should just die already. I hate old people.
Jeez.
Now, if you're a booker and you read this kid, you might think he's funny, but are you gonna? You know, he thinks you're irrelevant. You know.
Other people
So like,
have the
why would
money.
you say something like that? I mean, just young people tend to don't understand. Keep shit off of social media like that.
And it's in print.
Yeah, well, another. My own daughter, she puts it out there on Facebook. Suffering from severe depression. I'm taking off from work for 2 weeks or some stuff like that. Like, why do you want the world to know? I mean, you might be suffering from depression. You could tell a few friends that. But why are you putting that on Facebook? You're gonna go for. You know what I do? Whenever I hire someone, or I own some rental properties, so I hire people, you know, I screen people. Part of what I do is I go on their Facebook page. One time I had this girl, you know, seemed like a real sweet girl. She applies for a job with me. And then I go on her Facebook page. She's got like 6 Coronas in front of her and a wild party, and then a video of her at another wild party. Like there were no cat pictures, no family pictures.
Right.
Every picture was her partying. I'm saying, the hell, you know, I'm not going to rent an apartment to this woman. So you got to be careful what you're putting out there.
Absolutely.
And
People forget.
People forget reality and virtual and reality.
Yep. But that's a good tool. A lot of places that hire do that too. You got to remember that.
Simple. You know, like my agent goes to me, my real estate agent. Oh, I'm going to run a credit check. I said, trust me, you go on their Facebook page, you'll find out a lot more.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, some people are just very stupid. They just put it all out there.
Yep. I try not to do that, but I use it for my comedy.
Yeah.
To promote. So I've been lucky. You know, I did a tour of Florida as soon as I retired. Went down there, got into the clubs. Rich Schultes brought me with him, and then I went featured. Now they're bringing me back to headline.
Right.
So
and
you know,
Schultes is going to be your MC.
he's a nut. I had to live with him for a couple of weeks. I love him. I think my mother likes him better than she likes me now.
Yeah, he's a character.
He is, but it's all characters.
It's all characters. It's all misfits, people who are socially awkward, and that's why when they go on a stage, that's where they get their real power. You know, if you take an average comic that can make 200 people laugh and put them in a room alone, one-on-one, they tend to be very boring. You don't even want to sit with comics sometimes. It's depressing.
Well, that's why it must be hard to deal with them, because everyone likes comics because they're messed up. But you're the one dealing with them.
You got to be the responsible one.
Right.
And you got to weigh a lot. You know what it is? Every comic also is very They only see things from their perspective.
Oh.
I've got to figure out how to please the audience.
Right.
You know, also the order of the show. Like, for instance, you know Keith Robinson, right?
Of course.
Very high-powered, strong act, right? And Todd Barry, very low-key act. Well, one time I booked a show specifically a certain way. Todd Barry first, and then Keith Robinson, because if I did it opposite, Todd would have a very hard time following Keith Robinson.
That's a good point.
So Keith Robinson comes running in. He goes, Todd Barry was late. Keith Robinson comes running in. I gotta go up. I gotta go in a hurry. I got another spot somewhere, like a nut, right? So I said, okay, you go up first, okay? Because Todd was running very late. Then Todd goes up and tries to follow him. It was a disaster. People were walking over to, well, did you book the show that way? It's horrible. I didn't book the show that way. That's how it just, happened. And then what was funny is Keith was in such a hurry to leave, right? But 3 girls started talking to him at the bar on the way out. He was there for an hour afterwards. Mr. I have to leave in a hurry.
Right.
You know?
So there is a formula to it all. It's not just.
Of course, yeah. You try to book certain acts in certain places, and then you also got to juggle that they have a spot somewhere else, and so there's a lot of things that's
Tough business.
come into play, and then you want to, then there's the dilemma, like you always want to try new people out, but someone that is really good, and you've been using them for years, so do you go with it's like a restaurant. This restaurant is a great restaurant, you've had 100 great meals there, do you go there tonight, or do you try the new restaurant that opened up that people are talking about? So that's the same kind of thing in comedy. You have that choice you have to make, and so that's a dilemma. So there's a million things that go in. Then, you'd be like Steve Marshall. This guy, I love him. He's my friend for 30 years. But this guy couldn't run on time.
I know, I love him, but he can't.
And he has to run the light all the time. So you got to watch when you book him on a Saturday night early show, because he'll send the show late. And all the comics go pissed off. The customers for the next show are waiting online to come in. And then he wants to know, well, why don't you book me at a 9 o'clock show? Well, so there's so many things that go into it. It's like,
Talk about a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Steve is tough. He's in the audience. He's crushing. He's just,
Yeah, he's all over the place with them.
I love him. I love him.
Yeah, he's the kind of act, 90% of the audience loves him, but you're going to get 10% afterwards. He's going to have some political correctness.
And he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
No.
What's his slogan? I misbehave.
Misbehave.
Don't misbehave.
Yes, don't behave.
Don't behave.
Yeah. He's great. I've done a lot. Talk about that. I had a road gig with him where I went to pick him up in the city, and I had to leave without him. And me and Don Jamieson left without him. And we get to Edison, New Jersey, and all of a sudden I'm at a lodge, and the phone rings at the lodge.
Right.
And it's him. He's at the train station. I have no idea how he found us.
Right.
They sent somebody from the lodge to get him, and they picked him up, and he made it in time to headline. And I'm like, he's a maniac.
So you see, all the prep you did for this show is worthless. You just had to banter.
That's right, Al. You taught me a good
But
lesson.
you have to get the right guy to talk to.
Right.
If you get some other guys, they'll just like.
They're hard
They're
to.
boring.
Yeah. No, you made me really. Thank you so much.
Mike Bichetti might be a funny guy.
Oh, you can bet. I gotta go to his
But
mom's
you gotta wear a face guard because he might spit a little time.
Oh yeah, I have to go to his mom's.
Sometimes I go to a buffet with him and I'm just like my hand over the food because you never know when one's gonna go flying out.
Well, you used to be instrumental in taking him. You took him to L.A. and didn't you take him all over?
Yeah. I managed Mike
You
for
did
25 years.
for 25 years. I love him. He's great. He's funny. And it's true because what he says, I moved. Well, my mom moved, and it's true. It's so.
I'll
true.
tell you one funny Mike Bichetti story, which my wife has never forgotten. And she. I like Mike, but my wife is not. Don't mention his name around her, but this might wind up on the air, and I don't care. But Mike literally started.
Right.
And for 20 years I was listening to his 10, 15 years I was listening to his nonsense. If I had a dime for every comic that says they're going to mention me when they're on a big show, I'd really had this whole terrace filled with dough, So he's one of those guys, when I hit it big, I hit a TV show. So finally, he tells me he's on the Howard Stern show. And they interviewed him and everything. So I go to my wife, I said, Howard Stern, there's always a plug at the end, and he's going to plug us, so let's watch the show. So we're watching the show, he's on there and everything at the end of the show. So, Mike, where are you going to be appearing? I'll be at the Eastville Comedy Club on 4th Street or something like that in the Eastville.
Right.
I called him up, I said, what's wrong with you? What are you, a fucking moron? How did you promote another club? And blah, blah, blah. And that's when my wife...
Gee, Al, I'm real sorry.
I said, I'm so sorry, Al, but the guy who got me the gig said to me he'll get me on there, and he told me... So, you know, that's that.
He's so funny. They introduced him to Dice one time, and he tells somebody, he told somebody who was there, and they said to Dice, you know, his dream is for you to open for him. And Dice said, me open for him? What the F? Blah, 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 blah. And Dice flipped it, and then Dice thought about it and said, you know what? The way this business is, that could happen.
That could happen.
Yeah, that could happen.
That could happen. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Al.